Hello and welcome to Zerift's mental health vlog, Inpatient and Outpatient. Hello, I'm Zerift. How you doing? Um, Sorry for a somber tone. This won't be an easy topic for me to talk about. Uh, a couple announcements. It'll be the same date, uh, 7:30 to 11, somewhere in that time frame. Next Tuesday on the 19th, U.S. Central Time, will be the live game, which is the project I was working on, if you didn't catch my announcement in the weekly update. But there may, well, there's nothing official yet, but there may be more this month. So more on that maybe later today. Uh, so let's get started. First thing that happens when you get an inpatient is they put you up for review. There's two ways this could happen. Either you voluntarily come in and then they have one of their psychiatrists or therapists, whatever, come and review you, or you're brought in by the police and they review you and they decide where you stay. And then at that point, for a certain time frame, you don't have a choice if it is done by the police. I think it's called a voluntary arrest or something, or protective custody or something like that. Or I think it was voluntary arrest. Uh, but there's only two ways I know if you land yourself in the hospital. Uh, and they do it for your own safety. The police do. So, uh, yeah. So after that, they take away your shoelaces, your items, they put them in a box, and they leave them in a special room. And then they would strip you down, or have you stripped down for them to your underwear, unless they're unless you're a drug addict and it's full blown. Yeah. But then you move into the room, which is behind a locked door, which requires a pass key. One of those key cards, those little things that go deep, unlocks the door. There are a total of three doors with the required pass key. And the workers had three different scrubs. The only people not dressed in scrubs were the therapists and psychiatrists, the doctors themselves. Uh, oh, right. They give you a physical when you're in the hospital. I forgot about that. To check to see if you're healthy. The scrubs are colored in three different workers. You have black scrubs, blue scrubs, and red scrubs. Black scrubs are the people who work behind the medicine counter to give you your pills. Blue scrubs are the nurses. And red scrubs were the techies. Now, I think the techies' job was to look after you. I'm not quite sure what their job was, to be honest. All we ever did was hang out with each other, so I guess, well, they did more than that, but but I can't get into it because that's other people, but they make sure you're all right, mentally and socially. Uh, yeah. Nurses make sure you're okay, you're healthy, and so forth. And they had locked doors over the windows with glass. Uh, when you're impatient, you miss the finer, well, the simpler things in life. To be honest, the simpler things like coffee. Never been much of a coffee drinker before the hospital, but after that, I was appreciating that stuff so much. Like, or a newspaper, because you have no, you're only. And I'll get to the third one later, but you need to know what's going on in the outside world because you're going to be locked in there for a while. And television news on the television, because like I said, you need to know what's going on outside the world. You learn to appreciate it. And yeah, they had a lot of coloring and so forth, but they would break tips of a pencil or a color pencil. Um, I they would the only time they let you outside was for recreational activity and to smoke. Really, I didn't smoke, but I went outside anyways because I missed the outside. Yeah, that's what. Like I said, you miss the simpler things, like just being outside. You have no idea how much you miss it when you're in that place. You take that so much for granted, and just you know, but it takes so much for granted for being outside. But uh, I did make a lot of friends there, some that would last me a lifetime, so forth. But yeah, they had therapies, different therapies. They had different therapists. It was all group therapy, and you would have single sessions with the psychiatrist, the doctor. Can't say his name, but I probably land myself in trouble and him in trouble. Uh, well, probably that. It's just I don't want to reveal him and put him in the spotlight because he probably has his own life, mainly. Uh, he was a good doctor. He really was. And I remember I remember during this time, my my brother's wife was pregnant at the time, and her she was past her due date, and the baby could have been born at any time, and I couldn't be able to see it because I was stuck in the hospital, uh, and just missing that was just really emotional for me. But sometimes it was terrifying. Can someone could how do I put this? Have a no, not a reaction. I had a word for this. Uh, I don't want to say freak out. I don't want to say that. Uh, the situation would happen with the patients, and it would freak everyone out. And and those were terrifying. Every time one would happen, it was terrifying. Um, they would, yeah, I talk about how much you miss real coffee. The only real coffee was a coffee machine in the cafeteria, which is on the other side of these doors that needed a pass key or the key card to enter through. I believe we only went on the weekdays, and on the weekends we would have to eat in there. So we would, everyone would get coffee. Everyone would get coffee. Even I got coffee. Uh, because we had a machine inside indoors, which was everyone would take it to get coffee, but we would all complain about it because it wasn't real coffee. It was like really watered down and so forth. But I think it's for safety reasons that we don't get real coffee in that area, in the cafeteria where we're being watched. Uh, I've made friends and enemies when I was inpatient. Inpatient was, I describe, as the best and worst time of my life. Um, it was first time around it was pleasant. Second time around it was horrible. Yeah, I was inpatient twice. Well, technically 3 times, but for this hospital I'm talking about, it's twice. Um, um, yeah, it was an eye opener of experience, and the doctor did take me for some walks around the outside, just chat with me. Therapists would be interested in my interests, which never happens. Like for eventually, I didn't know anyone who had the same interests as me. They also had music therapy and uh, recreational therapy. That I had a hard time on that word. Recreational therapy, and I believe that's what it was called. But we would do origami, tai chi, puzzles, uh, stuff like that. Just basically activities to make us relax, kind of soothe us. Music therapy is exactly as it sounds. You just play instruments and so forth. And I will say this, although I can't say much about the other guys, but I can say that the community was strong. I've never seen such a strong community before in my life of people who are just willing to go other ways to support each other. So that was. Other than that, there was one silly thing about it. Like I understand why the toilets are shaped like the way they were, because so you can't harm yourself with it. But good gosh, were they loud! You have this big button on the wall. You push it, it goes. Like you have to flush, but when it's in the middle of the night and you share a room with another patient, and the thing goes, they wake up and it's like, "You're welcome, buddy." But it's these things are. Yeah, there are some really silly things about that place, and I think it was a converted school or something because it had a door that went to nowhere for no apparent reason. It had, like, I understand why they do it, but at the same time, it's silly. It's humorous to think about. is that they have locks on the fire hydrants, and it's like, and they have all these keys. So it's like, it's burning up. I'm going as fast as I can. Kind of thing. It's I don't know. There was I shot a lot of hoops when I was there. When I did go outside to the recreational area because there's not much to do. Personally, it was lack of a better term keep me from going insane from this place. There's like it's just the mind numbing of nothing to do. And the mind numbing nothing to do will just infuriate you. So it's yeah, I made a lot of friends. Some friends relationships didn't last, but I made friends that last me for a lifetime. That will last me for a lifetime. Uh, as for outpatients, outpatient was a lot better both times. There was the regular therapy, which was met with a group therapy session where we talk, everyone would share everything. You didn't hide anything. And you'd be surprised how supportive they really are and how unjudgmental they are, which in today's world is rare. Uh, what else was there? Yeah, we had a nurse we have these brief sessions between group therapy where a nurse would come in and explain our our psyche diagnosis, our diagnoses, our pills, what we're taking, and what exactly they do, and superfoods. She would tell us about superfoods. We had the same guy from recreational therapy, and that's probably not even the right term, but we'll come in and do things like we did these Japanese paper dolls where you put one eye in, and after the festival, you put the other eye in. I don't know what it's called. If you know, please put in the comments, please, so I can remember. I think it was like Daima or something like that. I don't remember. These we did Tai Chi. We did. Occasionally, we would watch a movie to make us feel better, and then there was more intense therapy, which they would review like what causes you to these problems. They go deeper into your brain, and they would have like they did like things that I thought were pretty crazy, but pun unintended, no intended puns here. Uh, uh, yeah, it was a they would review. Hmm, like they would make you watch a movie, and it's like okay, and you would get these questions like, "What was the hardest moment to watch?" Now, when you had to leave the room, which did happen, why did you feel the need to leave? What was so intense about that moment, and things like that? And they would ask you questions like, "Why do you feel this way?" Or and they would get deeper and deeper into your psyche. And I think the most important takeaway from this was in this hospital, they really did care about you, which I think helped a lot. Like, they weren't pretending, they really did genuinely care. And they cared about your mental health and your well being. So, and I made a lot of friends with the staff, and some who I thought were originally my enemy turned out to be my friend the whole time, my ally. So, I, if you guys are watching, thank you for everything. But, yeah, so that was pretty much inpatient and outpatient. Uh, I wish I had more to talk about, but I would have to break it down in several videos and tell you several stories, but I can't tell much because sign a waiver and I can't talk about other people or their diagnosis. I can only talk about mine. So, um, this is Zerift signing off.